Previously on Cryptid Caravan.
Yokel in a field just asking for trouble. Uh-oh. I'm sensing some B-movie shenanigans in my future.
Now this.
Well, howdy, and welcome to Cryptid Caravans. We're hauling in new monsters all the time. As you can see, I got my hands full here at the moment. But since you're here, let's take a look at West Virginia's second most famous cryptid. The Beast of Braxton County, the Green Monster, the Frametown Phantom. Those are all better known as the Flatwoods Monster.
It was sighted in Braxton County, West Virginia, namely the little town of Flatwoods, about 70 miles northeast of Charleston.
And while the location is pretty well agreed upon, the physical description of it's a little more fluid.
The original description was of a creature in a green suit that stood about 10 foot tall. The bottom of the suit was reportedly pleated like a skirt. It had a red spear for a head that was backed by a black cow in the shape of a spade. One witness account said that it had small claw-like arms as well.
But when it had been spotted the next day in Frametown, the description had changed.
It still had the skirt on, but it was described as metallic, not green, and the waist up was now described as having reptile-like features.
Think along the lines of the skateboard lizard man. Except the Flatwood Monster showed up a good 3 decades for South Carolina's lizard.
The first sighting was September 12th of 1952. During the night, 3 boys, Ed and Fred Mays and Tom Heyer, were playing outside when a red light streaked across the sky close to the ground. It went down on a nearby hill of a local farmer. They all rushed to the Mays home and told Mrs. May what they saw. She took the 3 boys, along with Neil Nunley, Ronnie Shaver, and Eugene Lemon, to investigate where the light had crashed.
It was a pretty slow Friday night. I mean, Pac-Man hadn't been invented yet.
As they went up the hill, the family dog ran ahead, only to return later with his tail between his legs. Further up the path, and Nunley reported seeing a ball, or possibly ring, of fire in the woods.
And it burned, burned, burned. But there's a debate to be had as to whether everybody else saw this supposed ring of fire. Nevertheless, they all agree on what happened next.
Lemon shined his flashlight towards a pair of eyes he noticed, and that's when all of them saw the tall, red-faced creature. As they stood there in fear, the boys noticed a sickly, sweet, noxious smell. After only a few seconds, the creature let out a screeching hiss and charged towards them. The group turned tail and ran, with 2 of the boys becoming nauseous, and so ended their encounter.
But their story had just began.
Miss May returned home and phoned the local sheriff and newspaper. The reporter, Lee Stewart, took down their account and went to investigate the site that night. He also noted a smell of a rancid metallic-y variety. Sheriff Carr showed up at a different time that night and reported nothing of note.
But the morning light would reveal God damn. Would reveal some new clues at the crime scene.
There was 2 sets of tracks in the mud and a black viscous liquid. Stewart, of course, thought this was ironclad proof of a UFO landing. Well, it turned out that during the night, local looky-loo Max Lockhart had driven his Chevy truck around the hill to catch a view of the monster.
Turns out his truck was leaking oil. I mean, what do you expect? It's a Chevy.
And the deputies hadn't found any more signs of the creature, a UFO, or a ring of fire, so most of them disregarded the reported sighting. Over the next few weeks, folks from around the country would visit the maze, including a New York preacher and ufologist Gray Barker.
But the rest of the town hadn't had their fill of the creature, and so began the influx of sightings.
The school board director reported a saucer took flight the morning after the kids sighted the monster. A mother and her adult daughter saw the beast a week earlier. The encounter shook the daughter so bad that she was bedridden for weeks.
It was an encounter the following night that made the next big impact.
A young couple were driving in the woods near Frametown, 20 minutes south of Flatwoods, when their car stalled out. While they cranked the engine back to life, the cab filled with the smell of brimstone.
That's sulfur for all you that are Old Testament illiterate.
Soon a UFO seemed to appear, hovering in the nearby woods, and a creature emerged and began circling the car. This was the monster that looked more like a lizard in a metal suit.
And they must have got the car out of there, because that's where their story ends. And after that, there were no more recorded encounters with the Flatwoods Monster. Now comes the part where we look into what explanations people have suggested for this spaceman. You just hang on to that for a while.
First off, the red light seen in the sky was likely just a meteor. Other local West Virginians saw the same object. Most knew it was a meteor, but some thought it was a plane crashing. Sheriff Carr actually happened to be responding to a plane crash call when he got the call from Miss May.
As for the creature they spotted,
the description of it seems pretty fluid. Sometimes it had arms, and no one could agree if it had a torso.
The only constant seems to be the red face with the black spade cowl. Pocket sand!
The most realistic explanation proposed is our old friend, owls.
And while the great horned owl is blamed for Hopkinsville's goblins, we got another member of the owl family on trial here.
Barn owls have an oval-shaped face, and the females have hints of red in their faces. They also make a terrible hissing sound, like the monster. And when they feel their young are threatened, barn owl mamas hunch down, their bodies creating what could be confused as a cow.
And if it's sitting up in a tree, it could give the illusion of being the head of a 10-foot tall critter.
And if there were a shrub under that branch, you would get the green body Miss May described.
And you gotta remember, this is all happening during the 1950s.
America's in the height of the Cold War and saucer mania, so aliens were probably on the brains of all the kids. As for the stinky gas that oozed from the creature, well, Sheriff Carr did mention a natural fog settling on the hill, and future tests found the local grass emanated a distinct smell.
And the sickness the boys experienced may have been from the adrenaline and shock of the night.
And again, besides the tracks left from Lockhart's Chevy, there was no visible evidence of the alien encounter at the scene.
And what about the encounter in Frametown with the similar-looking beast?
Well, there's a solid case to be made that this whole Frametown story was created in the mind of a Frank Feschino. The couple in the car have never been named, and he also claims to have done an interview with Miss May years later where she describes the Flatwood Monster to look more like Feschino's lizard.
The only other popular explanation is that the Flatwoods and Frametown Monsters are actually aliens from beyond the stars. Either way, the Flatwood Monsters become one of the most famous West Virginia cryptids, second only to the Mothman.
The first thing you learn about Flatwoods is that it's the home of the Green Monster. The town even set up a set of monster chairs to sit in for a photo op. And 10 minutes down the road in Sutton is the Flatwoods Monster Museum. It houses articles and artifacts related to the creature.
The only thing they're missing is a yearly street fair.
Well, just last year, a documentary film was released to warm reception, The Flatwoods Monster, A Legacy of Fear. And the Flatwoods Monster has had episodes dedicated to it on Mountain Monsters, Monster Quest, and Project Blue Book. It also appears as an enemy in Fallout 76.
And I wouldn't blame you for not knowing that. That means someone actually had to have played Fallout 76. And if you think we like the Flatwoods Monster here, the Japanese are absolutely enamored with it.
An alien enemy in Legend of Zelda's Majora's Mask bears a resemblance to the monster, and a creature in Wii U's Wonderful 101 is based on it. Amagon on NES features a Flatwoods Monster as its final boss.
They're big fans, to say the least. Huh. Well, looks like they're retreating. That's right, you get out of here, you carpetbaggers. Well, that's the whole shooting match regarding the Flatwoods Monster. Whether it's an alien from outer space or just a feisty barn owl, well, that's for you to decide. I just give you the history.